Hello, everyone, and welcome to a live Palace preview. It's been so long since we last did one of these, and I think this is the perfect time to do it. Of course, big game at the weekend. The big one, Palace against Brighton at the Amex. It doesn't get much bigger, this game, for both sets of fans, and it's a game that, off the back of the last couple of fixtures in this particular tie, you know, we need to really bring our game for this one. We need to try. We have to get something at the Amex. Losing for me is an absolute, it's a no-go. We cannot lose this. We have to go in and try and win this. If we play anything near to how we played against Newcastle, I'm very confident we will get at least a point out the game. I think we're in better form than Brighton right now. In a way, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but there's less pressure on the players, in my opinion, because it's not like Brighton will go above us with a win. Obviously, you don't know if that's a good or bad thing. You maybe want that sort of pressure to get you performing to a better level, but in my opinion, I think it's good to have that breathing space between the two teams. It, if anything, gives you some sort of freedom to play a little bit without the fear of being, overtaken by Brighton in the league. I think that there is a lot of nervous energy going in that I personally felt this week going into this game, mainly because of what's happened in previous fixtures. We're not on a good run against Brighton. We were very lucky to get a point in the reverse tie at Selhurst. Not a great atmosphere. We played really poorly for that, and obviously it's the main man that, as you can see on the thumbnail, I had to include him there. Wilfried Zaha, just again, he knows what it means, this game, and I really hope that, we're looking at the social media around the club this week. If you haven't seen already, today they uploaded a really interesting series of pictures, like defining pictures in the derby, that was summed up the derby. I think it was 20 pictures throughout the years that summed up the Palace-Brighton rivalry, and I think it was a really good representation of how things happened, and obviously descriptions under each picture. Click on the link in the on the Palace Twitter. Really good tweet. Really interesting to see those pictures. But the club this week have been building it up, of course, and they've also been putting out on Twitter the players in training, and of course the players have also been tweeting as well. And I do think that Zaha, he typically gets it in this sort of week. Gary Cahill's been tweeting about the Brighton game, saying he's focused, ready to go. Pictures of him training as well. Gary Cahill, in my opinion, should captain the team at the weekend. I know Luca's going to be back, and that is a point I'm going to bring up in just a short while. The way this is going to work, basically, guys, it's going to be a slightly longer Palace preview. Normally, Palace previews are about 10 minutes long, something like that. We're going to do about half an hour live stream, I think, to get some thoughts from you guys. And to, of course, get an idea of, what everyone's thinking and, my thoughts on the game, predicted lineup, how I think we should approach the game, and some of the key talking points of the fixture as well. So without further ado, let's us just get into things. I think that, general thoughts, obviously, first and foremost, thank you for how many are we at? About 20 odd people in the stream at the moment. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'd love to hear your thoughts in general on the game, how you're preparing for the weekend, if you're going to be going down there at the weekend to watch. Very hard to get tickets, of course. I'd love to know just your general feeling about what this fixture means to you guys, and how you think it's going to go. I'm still quite nervous about it. We all want to beat Brighton. We know Brighton are in our shadow. We've just got to make sure that no one likes to lose in this game, of course. And we've had a poor couple of games against them, and you've got to admit it. When we're playing poorly against Brighton, you can't try and blag it. We have to do better. Let me just take a look at some of the stuff I wanted to talk about. Make sure that. Right, so guys, let's get straight. Let's keep going. This is good. This is good stuff. My thoughts on this game going into it. As I mentioned, it's a game that, in my opinion, we have to win. We have to go out there and look to win. And I think the best way of doing that is if we play exactly the same way we did last weekend against Newcastle. I was very impressed with the way we approached that game, the way we looked to press on the front. I thought the press was very good. There were still points where I thought counter-attacking, we've got to be a bit quicker and a bit more clinical. Definitely more clinical. Again, in front of goal, how we weren't 2 or 3-0 up at half-time, how we didn't finish the game at least 2 or 3 goals ahead of Newcastle or to 3 or 4-0 up, is beyond me. We should have absolutely blown them out of the water. And it again highlights that it's multiple times it's happened this season where we have won a game that we dominated, but only by 1 goal. And we're one of the poorest finishing teams in not just the Premier League, but in the country. In the top 4 leagues in English football, we were joint bottom until last week against Newcastle in the whole football league. So that is going to be quite a big talking point, I think, for the Brighton game. We've got to do better in that regard. I do think he's going to start Benteke, and in all honesty, I do think Benteke has been good in previous weeks with the way he's held up the ball and how he's linked up play. Wins a lot of headers, and before he used to win a head. Back in his first season, he was winning all the headers and he was having an amazing season, really good season. After he came back from injury, he wasn't really doing anything, and that was his worst form, I think. Those couple of seasons after that injury. And he's just shot for confidence. He still is shot for confidence now, but what I think he has improved on is he's starting to just win the aerial battles, doing what he should be doing on the pitch as a target man. He wins all the flick against Newcastle. He won every flick on. He won every header. Held up the ball well when it got into his chest area. Tried to lay it off and link up play, and I think he did well in that regard. And the flick-ons were good. He didn't have too many people running off him, which is frustrating because it makes it look like he's playing poorly there when really Zaha and wingers and Ayew, players around him should be making those runs in behind to get onto the end of those flick-ons because they're really good ways to link up the play. Problem is, and we all can see it, is he still is so shot for confidence on a goal. And when we're lacking goals and we need to score, if the ball drops to Benteke, maybe 7 or 8 yards out, and he's got a chance to shoot just 1-on-1 with the keeper, I'm not confident he's going to put it away. And for that reason, it makes it hard. He does everything else well or good enough, in my opinion. It's always that the positioning in the box and the finishing. It's just not there. He can't score. He just can't seem to score. He did score against Everton, obviously, and that was a goal that shouldn't have gone in. Let's be real. Pickford should have saved it, but I thought that was going to do him a world of good. Then misses an absolute sitter against Newcastle. That header, he just took his eye off it, and it went skewed out wide. Benteke, does he start for you guys or not? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments if you're watching this at a later date. I do think that is going to be crucial. What Roy does there. Does he play him? In my opinion, he will, because I think he wants to have that physicality up front against the like of Lewis Dunk, Duffy or Webster, whoever plays alongside Dunk. I think he wants that physicality up there to try and bully them slightly or to try and ruffle the feathers, get in and around those centre-backs and not make their life difficult. There are multiple ways of doing that, and I personally would love to see Ayew start up front because I do think that although he was brilliant against Newcastle playing out wide and cutting inside, really good, he almost was an inside forward, more of a second striker at times, and we didn't really play with a right winger most of the game, to be honest, because Ayew did drift inside a lot. I do think that he is better in the middle as a lone striker. The way he presses from the front, he's our best presser, in my opinion. Off the ball, the Palace team, he is the catalyst for the press, and he is the best presser, pressing from the front, getting as I said, catalyst, getting the rest of the players to press at the right time. He's the energy in the team. When he has that spark, that energy, there's been games where he's been off the boil, and you can see just by the way, again, that movement off the ball isn't there. And when it's not there, it affects our players around him. I've seen it, and I think that most Palace fans would agree. I think that when he's on it, and you can tell he's on it, as I said, by his movement off the ball, his willingness to try and chase down and win the ball back. When he is on the ball, doing solo runs, beating players, like incredible solo runs with dribbling ability that is very unusual. You don't expect him to have the ability on the ball that he does. Quite what's the word I'm looking for? Quite deceptive, the way he dribbles past players. You're thinking, this is Jordan Ayew, he shouldn't be doing this, but he does. I'm not going to say Messi-esque because that's obviously a stupid link, but it's that sort of run where he just runs directly down the middle, players coming in around him, and he has that quick ball control to just go in and out of the challenges. It's brilliant to watch, and when he's playing like that, most of the players around him, it raises their game as well. And I think the best way to get the most out of Ayew is to play him up front, because he is our best goal scorer. He's our top goal scorer this season. Not by that many goals. I think it's 7 goals he scored this season. but so it might be 6 actually. But as I mentioned, I think you lose a lot of his abilities by putting him out wide. He did play well against Newcastle. He always plays well, I think, when he's in that frame of mind, as I mentioned. Doesn't matter where you play him. But I think you get the best out of Jordan Ayew when he's in the middle. I'd love Townsend and Zaha to be playing off him, out wide. I'd have Benteke on the bench. That is my personal opinion. That front three is going to be crucial. It's going to be crucial. We've got to be clinical on the night, but those front three, in my opinion, Zaha and Ayew are a given. It's whether he brings in Townsend, Roy for Benteke and changes up the formation slightly, or if he sticks with Benteke. I think that Roy will stick with the same team that beat Newcastle. Luca may come in. That's the only change I could see. I do think Roy typically likes to play a team that, when we're winning or when we are in a good run of form, he likes to keep that going in the way that he knows how, and that is to just basically play the same team and not change too much, which I understand. But in a way, you want to develop. I feel like you want to build on what happened. Last week, it was a very good performance, but there were still places we could improve. Finishing being one of the main things, probably counter attack again. I think we could have improved on as well. So that should be last week's performance. Should really be the basis of what we do from now to the end of the season. I'd like to see him try and just be a bit more with his management. I'd love to see Roy just be a bit more expressive and embrace the game and change up for different games, not just necessarily play the same team. They won last week, play exactly the same team, do the same again, because you're playing a different team. This is a different setup. This is Brighton. This is the big one. You've got to treat it differently to Newcastle. You've got to treat it differently to the other games. And you've got to look at it in isolation. Yes, most of that team should start again. And that performance against Newcastle should be the baseline for this game. That is the minimum sort of output I expect from all the players in this game. I'd love to make a couple of changes, just to improve on the areas that need improving and to show that intent that we're going to go at them, we're going to get the win. Will he do that? I don't think he will, because Roy likes to be conservative. He likes to be disciplined. Getting a clean sheet, getting the points, doesn't matter how it's done, just getting the points going on. I appreciate that, and I do think that whether it's, obviously in this game, whether it's 1-0 or 5, obviously we'd love to see a 5-0, but whether it's 1-0 off of Benteke's arse, I don't care. A win is absolutely everything in this game, absolutely everything. Who's excited for the game? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, of course. Love to hear your thoughts, guys. Keep the comments coming in. I am reading all of them, of course. Just going to check Twitter to see what everyone else is saying on there. Let me know your thoughts on the game, guys. How do you think it is? How do you think it's going to go at the weekend? I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I'll just change the settings there. Hopefully now you guys can be able to interact a bit better there. There we go. Got the live chat. Apologies, guys. I had it on the wrong setting there. Fire away with your thoughts. Love to hear what you're thinking on the game. Do you agree with everything I've said there? So I rambled on a bit, but I'd love to know if you think that if you agree with what I say there on the front line and how I think we should set up. I will be doing more in-depth stuff now about, or chatting about the defence after this, after I read some of you guys' thoughts. And we're about this halfway stage. I'll chat about what you guys are thinking and answer questions, etc. And then we'll go on to the defensive side. And again, a bit more about the game. Maybe, guys, put in the chat some of your memories of this fixture, why this game means so much to you. I'd love to know your thoughts on that as well. And just why this is a fixture that you guys love, or what it means to you to be a Palace fan and the Palace-Brighton rivalry, what it means to you. And then, of course, we'll get on to the rest of the team, score predictions, and we'll wrap up the preview there. Love doing live streams for you guys. I love the feel of it. Love the interaction, and I love Palace. So talking about Palace is absolutely, I love all of it. So thank you guys again. I keep saying thank you, but thank you for your support. Tom has said, just got in here, mate. Thank you, Tom, for joining the stream. I'd love to know your thoughts as well. you think Luca should play. I will be getting on to Luca and my thoughts on that just after I read some of your comments and questions on the fixture. Try and keep it specific to Brighton. I want to have some thoughts from you guys about what it means, this fixture, to you, and what it means, the the Palace Brighton rivalry. Your highlights as a fan, whether it's live or watching it on TV, whatever. I want to know your thoughts on the fixture, what it means for this fixture to you, and obviously the game, how you think the game's going to go. And after a few minutes of reading comments and questions, I will get on to that. Your point now on Luca and the defence. Harry, you think you got it right with I as a lone striker. I think we should be playing a similar formation we did back in December, as that's when we were playing our best football. It's very true. Obviously, it was that West Ham result that got us 6th place when we won away to West Ham at the London Stadium. I think that was the end of that amazing run at the start of the season, and then we started going downhill. I do think 4-3-3, but obviously the wingers will be bombing up and down, as always. Zaha's defensive displays over the last few seasons have been so much better than we've seen from him in previous years before that. He's worked very hard on his defensive side of his game, and just in general, I think his work rate has improved, his fitness has improved in many ways. He is almost a complete winger in many regards. I'm going first ever away game. Wow, Sam, what a first away game that is. I really hope you enjoyed down there, mate. I did go last season when we got battered at 3-1 down there. It's not a good place to go when you lose, but of course, it's the greatest feeling ever if you beat them. It's the greatest feeling. It's kind of like going to Wembley. It's the worst feeling to lose at Wembley, but it is the best feeling. It's the same with any derby, any rivalry. Any other thoughts, Eddie? If I'm honest, I think we have same tactics to what we had against Newcastle. I agree. I do think Roy will set up in that way, but a different team to talk as the players need to be 100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that, Eddie. We have to approach the game mentally differently, and as I mentioned, that performance against Newcastle should be, the bare minimum I'm expecting from the squad in this game. We've been very, very poor in terms of our approach to the last couple of games against Brighton. Maybe even the last 3 games against Brighton. I think we've gone into it far too nice, not wanting it enough, and that is what annoyed, especially the last game at Selhurst Park. We didn't want it. We didn't want it enough. Yes, Brighton, I think tactically were better than us on the night. There's no excuse but that doesn't excuse you to not work harder than them, to get the 50-50s, be first of the ball, leave your foot into challenges, and to try and ruffle, a few feathers, and to try and stamp your authority as the home team in a Brighton Palace game, a Palace derby against Brighton. That there was no excuse not to do that, and I think that has been what has been the most disappointing thing for me in the last few fixtures against Brighton, is that we've not wanted it enough, and they have wanted it more than us, and that hurts me to say. It should never be like that. In my opinion, it's unforgivable. So that is what I expect. The bare minimum in terms of performance is that Newcastle game last week, is the bare minimum I'm expecting in terms of performance on the pitch, and of course mentally, and the way we approach the game, and the amount of effort we put in. That is the bare minimum. 1-0 Palace, Tanguy Pixel is your prediction. I'd love a 1-0. I'd love a dodgy 1-0. Opinions on the owners, Sam. I'm going to try and... I think I've made my opinions clear kind of on previous videos, at least I hope I have, or my thoughts on Twitter as well about the owners. They obviously want to sell their club. They should go. I think a lot of blame is put on Parish, but he's a fan like the rest of us. He wants what's best for the club. He doesn't deserve as much stick as he's getting. But this is going to be about Brighton mainly, mate. But I will get into that sort of thing at a later date. There will be a time when the owners want to leave, clearly, and they want to sell up. It's just about getting the right person in to buy the club, I think. Best moment, KJR30, definitely semi-final versus Brighton. Guys, I did do a video last week for the Premier League. It was a part of a promo for this Brighton game. It should be out, I think, tomorrow, the promo. A bunch of Palace fans and Brighton fans were involved in it, and I was one of the Palace fans they picked to say a bit about the game and what it means to me. And the Premier League productions were filming it. It will be out coming tomorrow. Check out my social channels, because I will be obviously uploading the promo, so you guys can see what I said in that. And basically, I said that whatever happens in the future, whatever situation two clubs are in, 100 years from now, the fact that Palace beat Brighton in a playoff semi-final to get to Wembley, to win the playoff and get promoted, there's nothing that tops that. That is bragging rights forever for me. Beating your rivals in a two-legged affair to get to Wembley and then to win at Wembley to go to the Premier League whilst your rivals stay in the Championship for another few seasons. Nothing beats that for me. The only way they have bragging rights over us is if they beat us in a League Cup or an FA Cup final. That is the only way I can see them having bragging rights over us. We will always have that. Yeah, we beat you 5-0. Brighton could beat us 5-0 one year. Yeah, but we beat you in the most crucial game of your history. And, nothing's sweeter than that. Harvey reckon a Wilf double on what most likely will be his last away game there. Scenes of that second leg semi, best ever atmosphere. Great comment, Krish. I cannot agree more. I do think that Wilf I think it will be his last ever game against Brighton, and I hope he goes out with a bang. I really do. What a player, what a legend, especially in this fixture. Even when we're playing poorly, and that game against Brighton at home earlier in the season showed it. Playing poorly, he still brings it. He brings it out the bag, to ruin Brighton fans' hearts. And you've got to love it. You've got to love it. What's on your advice of Tosin should he play? It's a great point, Tangi. I do think that Tosin is in the mix. I feel like he's just come back from injury. This fixture, does he understand it enough? I think Ayew and Benteke are fitter right now. Because I think that, he didn't play too much when he was at Everton and he's coming back from injury. I feel like he will be on the bench for this one, Tosin. I feel like Roy, as I mentioned earlier, won't change too much with the team. He won't try and, tinker things too much. He wants to stick. I think he'll go exactly the same team. But, and this is where I'm going to move on to guys. So keep the comments coming in, guys. But I'm going to move on to now the next part of the video where I talk about Luca and defence and my thoughts on that. But, as I said, I do think Roy will stick with the same team that did so well against Newcastle, but I do think he'll bring Luca back into the starting 11. I do feel that will be the one change he makes, and for me, I really hope he doesn't. Just for this game, I do like Luca. I admire the passion he has. He may be in a poor run of form on the pitch. I think that his passing's been very sloppy this season. I think that his leadership is I think he is a leader. And I love the way that he does defend the players. He goes, like when no decision is given against one of the teammates or is not given a foul on Will, for example, he has been the first player, I think, since Millet to really, defend Wilf and get up to the ref and start. I know you don't want to see it necessarily in football nowadays, but like arguing with the ref. But his defence of Wilf and the way he defends the team and leads the team, I think is still great to see. And I do think he is a leader. And he is a very, very good captain of the team. But his performances have been poor. They've been poor. And I don't think he deserves to start in the team based off his performances. I think he is only there purely because he is the captain of the side. I think if he wasn't captain of the side, he would have been dropped a while ago. And that is my fear. I think that the suspension did us a world of good. The way we set up against Newcastle. Yes, it looked really dire with three deep defensive midfielders on the pitch, but McCarthy and Chiarte are more box to box. They do like to get up and down. McCarthy as well likes to get involved. All three of them really are quite box to box midfielders, which is why we were quite vulnerable at times on the break. There were some points where I thought there's a lot of space that Newcastle could exploit here, which of course we need to work on against Brighton, not to have that space exploited because they've got players going down the wing. Johan Batch, he is on a little bit of form. Mopai, of course, a great striker, and I was really jealous that he went, really gutted, in fact, he went to Brighton of all teams, because I do quite rate him. He doesn't matter that he's on a poor run of form. Of course, Glenn Murray off the bench, coming back to haunt us, it could happen. It happened last season at Selhurst, he scored, obviously, the opener. They've got players that can hurt us on the break. If Murray is playing, those balls coming over the top, or, those balls being whipped in for him to header in, your handbacks from Mopai, those fast players. You've got the youngster, whatever his name is. I don't even care really about him. On the other wing, they've got pace in those front areas, and I really hope that if we go with the same midfield, we don't have the same gaps appearing that we did against Newcastle, because they will get exploited. So for me, the big decision is, will Roy play Luca and drop probably McCarthy? I really hope he just doesn't. I really hope for this game he just keeps Luca on the bench. And then after the Brighton game, I don't care what he does with Luca. Bring him back into the team for the rest of the season. Just for this, it's the worst timing. I hope I wish almost we beat Newcastle the same way we beat Newcastle, and Luca was playing and he got suspended, so he'd missed this game. Because he is a captain, he is a leader, and it's important in this fixture to have leaders on the pitch. Cahill is obviously one. Scott Dann, if he plays, which again, as I mentioned, I think he will play the same team, Roy. So that means Scott Dann comes carrying on if he is fit. I think he is fit. Then again, if Saka is fully fit, I think Saka would replace him, but I don't think he is going to be fully fit in time. I think that it will be Dann and Cahill at the back. Dann, former captain of the team, so you've got two leaders there at the back in Cahill and Scott Dann. Luca, current club captain, will be a leader. Zaha, leader because he knows what it means in this fixture. He's one of the longest serving players, got the most appearances for the club in the side, along with Joel Ward, again, would be another leader on the pitch. So we have got players that have got experience and leadership qualities. A lot of players, and Luca would be, and there's no such thing as having a shortage of leaders, or for it not to be a good thing to have too many leaders on the pitch. I think to have a lot of players in the team that are leaders and keep everyone going and ticking along, and picking players up that are playing poorly, and commanding the ball and trying to lead from the front and etc. It's good to have, and that's why I can see it being beneficial to have Luca in the side for this, coming back from a knock. But I honestly just feel that the way we played against Newcastle, I can't get over the fact that was such a good performance from all the three midfielders. I would not change a thing there. I would drop Luca, but will Roy? I don't quite know. Same back four and keeper. I think that is going to happen. The only question mark is Saka will be fit enough to come in for Scott Dann. Again, I'm not too sure that Roy will do that. The way that Scott Dann played, I think he will stick with Scotty D. And, Scott Dann, again, he's a player that knows about the fixture. He knows what it means. Hasn't played in too many because, of course, his prime for Palace was during the years in the Premier League when Brighton went in the league. So that's one thing that may be interesting to see, because we haven't seen too much of Scott Dann in terms of playing against Brighton. But I think he would suit the fixture down to the ground. Obviously, up against him, if he did come up against Glenn Murray, two players that used to play with each other, in the Palace team back in the day, that'd be interesting to see that battle. There are a lot of battles that we've got to win. Zahara, obviously, against Lewis Dunk. We've got to see him just skin him, and Lewis Dunk to get rattled, because he's a player that I think can get rattled easily, as does Zaha. I think they're two players that are very passionate for their teams. You have to admit that. Lewis Dunk is Brighton through and through, unfortunately for him. And Zaha is Palace through and through, and an absolute legend of the club, arguably the greatest player to ever put on the red and blue shirt. So that battle will be interesting. Glenn Murray against Cahill, or Mapai against Cahill, that is going to be massive, and Scott Dann as well. Van Aanholt, will he have the same impact as he did against Newcastle? So good going forward, defensively suspect at times. Will he be able to put on that defensive display, but continuing that incredible attacking threat? There's so many questions and so many battles, and really desire, and about, I think the initial approach to the game has to be right. I think it's about who can implement the tactics going into the game the quickest, and first 5 minutes is huge. If we can get on the front foot and play the way we want to play, how we tactically set up for this game in the first 5 minutes, and stop Brighton playing the way they want to play, then that instantly changes the complexity of the game, in my opinion. Getting on the front foot and being the team that are in control of the fixture the quickest goes a long way in terms of getting a result. It stops you having to change up your plan on the spot, going to a plan B maybe quicker than you wanted. It's going to be hard because we're the away team, and last year, as I mentioned, we got battered by Brighton down there. Not good enough. But I do think that we'll learn from that and come back stronger in this game. At least I'm hoping this time round we do. A lot of comments coming in, guys. Obviously, thank you in the chat. Over 30 people in. I really appreciate your support. It's been a while since we've done a live stream, and I think this is the best time to do it. I am going to wrap up with my score prediction. I've got to go for it. I do think we will concede because at the Amex we haven't been good, and I feel like it's going to take a lot, especially with players like Mapai and Aaron Moy. We didn't even touch on Aaron Moy. They've got ability there to hurt us, especially if the crowd start getting behind them, it's very difficult for the crowd to get behind them because they're all tourists at the Amex. But I'm going to give them a goal just to be kind, but I'm going to go 2-1 Palace. I think the 2-1 away win at the Amex would be absolute bliss. That is my score prediction. Guys, I'd love to know your predictions. Thank you guys so much for the chat. I've been reading through everything. I know I may not be necessarily replying too much. Yes, second account, I do think that we will be able to beat Brighton. Come on, Palace, time to smack up the Brighton, says Hussein. I'm a Sheffield United fan, Jamie. Jamie, thanks for tuning in anyway. Other than Kel's mistake versus Saints, he's been superb. So no prob seeing him slotting. Exactly, I would not be unhappy with him coming in for Scott Dan Krish. I just feel like Roy will not change the team because of the way we play against Newcastle. Probably our best performance in the last 2 months. Will he start Kelly and change things up in that team? I don't think he will, personally. But with big games, you need your big personality. 6-7 minutes with James McCarthy with seeing out last 20 minutes. Yeah, it's a good point again, Krish, about Luca. I do think Roy will play Luca. I do think he will. But I really do feel like we play better without him in the team at the moment. And as I said, I'll happily have him in the team for the rest of the season after this weekend. I feel like if we're playing the best football we played this season without him in the team, we have to keep that sort of performance going in this game. It is crucial we get something out of this game. Score predictions coming in. I reckon it's going to be a draw, 1-1. Not the end of the world, but 2 draws wouldn't be the end of the world this season against Brighton. It's just about not losing. We cannot lose. A draw is the bare minimum. Bare minimum. I'm saying 3-1. Yes, Sam. Love that. I reckon a crack game of football. 0-0, Eddie. That's fair. 3-1 Brighton. Brad, you can do one. Tom, 1-0 Palace, eagle and eagle emojis. Love it. Guys, thank you so much for your support. Obviously, stay tuned. I'll give my reaction to the game as it happens. Around 12:30 kickoff, it will be obviously early kickoff. If you're going down there, stay safe. Enjoy the game as much as you can because it is a horrible away day from my experience of going down there. Horrible away day. 5-0 Palace, James. Love that. In the chat. Keep those chats coming in. Comment your thoughts down below as well. If you're not watching this live, let me know. I will obviously read the comments as they come in tomorrow as well. I'm ready. Hope you guys are ready. Score predictions, keep them coming and let me know your thoughts. This has been the Palace preview for the Brighton game. Come on, Palace. We can do this. We can do this. Be a great way to go on and start, coming to the last 10 games of the season and finish the season strong. And a win against Brighton, we go to 36 points if we do beat them. And that's pretty much us done for the season. We're 1 win out of 10 games away from securing our safety. I think 39 points will definitely keep us up this season. This is it. In a couple of days' time, Brighton Palace. Let's do this. Come on, you Palace. Thank you guys for watching. Comment and like, share, subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you guys next time.